dark legend has haunted the indigenous cultures of North America for centuries. Stories of an ancient creature born from desperation, hunger, and the most primal of human instincts is said to roam the forests, devouring the souls of the lost and vulnerable. In more recent history, historians have sifted through the folklore, historical accounts, and eerie encounters with this insatiable beast and have struggled to name the definite origins of the malevolent creature. Traditional academics tell us that it represents a cautionary tale, a manifestation of our deepest fears and the consequences of unchecked human greed. It serves as a reminder of the delicate balance between man and nature and the dangers that lie within the untamed wilderness. Though some reports and alleged sightings would seem to indicate the primal monstrosity is all too real. This case file, join the theorists as they head down the dark forest paths and pick up the grotesque trail of the Wendigo.
Welcome to Alien Theorist Theorizing Case File 280. The Wendigo.
Wendigo?
Wendigo?
Wendigo.
Wendigo. The Wendigo ate your baby.
Well,
When the dingo ate your baby.
Yeah, it's actually pretty fitting for this case file. Where I'm Braden.
I'm Zell.
I'm Dan. And I'm Andrew.
Just a trigger warning. Even we are not going to discuss all the gruesome details that are attributed to the
I'm going to actually. I'm going
Wendigo.
to push past it. I'm just going to start saying them.
Push past it.
No. Did you listen to oh my God.
Oh, terrifying.
I had to pause. I hit the pause button more than a few times.
It is honestly, I don't know if there's a fucking scarier cryptid or creature invented than the Wendigo.
Are we sure that this is a creature?
Critter.
Or is this the fucking boogeyman? Like, this is the fucking most horrifying thing I think we've ever discussed.
This is a primeval, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is 100%
As we approach, or we have Diablo 4 release, this is a primeval, in my opinion.
I'd rather run into Sasquatch in mating season than run into this motherfucker
wearing a fursuit.
Yeah, anytime.
Yeah.
Like, no thank you.
Because it is definitely one of those ones where you're like, and I don't think I was trying to look at like movies and stuff that if anything's done it justice. And I'm like, no, nothing has ever captured how fucking truly terrifying these things are. Hashtag look it up, because there is some fucking gruesome details and gruesome crimes attributed to this thing that we're not going to discuss here. We might glaze over some of them, but you can find that stuff on some fucking
on Reddit,
on Reddit or something.
A couple docs.
And listen, like, do yourself a favor, like Braid said, and look it up, because it's not like, for me, who grew up a comic book geek, this is not the Wendigo I knew. This isn't a big jacked white dude that looks like the Hulk, right? This is not at all.
No,
this is an emaciated thing from your fucking nightmares.
Yeah,
like this thing. It's awful.
So the Wendigo,
literally no redeeming qualities to it. Pure evil.
The Wendigo has entered into the popular Western media in the last couple decades or so. Like the Wendigo is pretty much like pulled from the folklore of indigenous peoples in the Great Lakes region mostly. And just to clarify, like, while it's gained popularity, like this is old. This isn't a thing that was just created 30 years ago. There's records of like something like this for hundreds.
And oral history of the native people of the area for untold generations.
Right. And then like some of the popular depictions that we have these days, some of them are like, some of them not exactly like what would be considered like accurate as to like the original incarnations of the Wendigo and conceptions of it from the original tales and folklore of indigenous people.
Like I said, we fucking lightened it up for a good time. Right? It's true.
Yep.
I was like, this is, and then it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, we didn't know. I had no idea. When I suggested this, I was like, oh, this is awful.
Who suggested this? It's terrible.
But it needs
like
to be
you said, like
about.
this thing is so old. Like you're discussing, like this thing didn't even come into like, what do you want to call like popular culture or even just like horror fiction until 1910 by that Algernon Blackwood. Like he wrote a story about this thing. Like that's when when the general public started hearing about this thing. So it's been this is an OG fucking miserable creature. Like,
yeah.
So, from what we can tell, roughly translated, the word Wendigo, also spelled in a number of different ways, such as Wendigo or Wendigo, means evil spirit that devours mankind. How
never Wendigo though? Just to
Never
clarify,
Wendigo.
never
Wendigo.
Okay.
Not
From now
until
on-
today.
Yeah, in Western Canada, in close circles,
You're trying to lighten it up, like you said.
Yeah.
It's a little bit. It's cuter. You can merchandise it, right? You make little Wendigo fucking
Oh
keychains.
my God, the Wendigo strung up your baby.
No.
And there are probably a number of other translations, but they all pretty much equate to the word for cannibal in most of the native languages. So according to the legends, the original legends that we pull from, a Wendigo is usually created whenever a human resorts to cannibalism to survive. And usually this is attributed to the creation of this creature is attributed to the times in the past where starvation was something that was constantly hovering over people's heads. Like
especially in this area.
Especially in this area with
Great
the harsh
Lakes
winters
area, like
and-
super harsh, long, cold, disgusting winter.
So I was able to find, like doing some digging, I found two potential origin stories, both from Algonquin origins, but one was supposedly a great warrior who made a deal with the devil in order to save his tribe from extinction. And in exchange, the devil turned him into the Wendigo. And he was excommunicated from his tribe. And then the other one kind of fits more like what Dan was saying. Supposedly it was a lost hunter who was during a brutal cold winter. The man's intense hunger drove him to cannibalism. Apparently he went hunting to feed his family, was lost for a few days, ended up running into somebody. Somebody was like, hey, like, do you need help? And instead of taking his help, he took his muscly man meats in his mouth.
And it's funny because I was reading a theory that because one of the many holes I went down looking up this one, I thought this was kind of an interesting point. That it's like, well, you can't really attribute that to all cannibalism because there's been cases where, like the rugby players who crashed, right, and they had to resort to cannibalism on the frozen Alps or whatever, right? They're like, well, they're not Wendigos as far as we know, maybe not. But so then
it's because it didn't happen in Canada.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. It wasn't in Canada.
Canadian cannibals, on the other hand.
The other thing that I saw was that it's the spirit has to be in the area, and basically it's tempting you to do this when there's an alternative. Like there's a harder route, but it's telling you to do this, and when you do this, then that it takes you from there. Like when you succumb to the temptation of it.
We all know, like here in Canada, we deal with the Wendigo on a regular basis. When you're finished eating dinner and it's telling you to go back into the pantry. And you're like, no, I'm fucking full. I'm full. It's fine. And then you're in there fucking mucking Snickers bars and you're not even hungry.
For all you Americans, you don't even know because it's anarchy from about October to May in Canada. I mean, the Wendigo's just in all of our ears.
It's whispering.
Eat your friends.
Just a bite.
There's going to be no more food. Eat your friends. Right? Like it's just a constant battle.
Alex Jones actually, I think, almost turned into a Wendigo one time. Didn't he say he was going to eat his neighbor or something?
He was going to eat his neighbor.
Eat your ass. Yeah, I remember that. But yeah, it's interesting how it's kind of come to be. So when
the Wendigo manifests like visually. So it can take the form of a spirit, which is known. So it can also, it has the ability to possess people. So it's, you know, it has an incorporeal form, but it also has an office
just
corporeal.
Just turns your friend into like a fucking dancing T-bone. Like, oh, what are you looking at me like that for?
Oh, it's like dancing food. Like, let's all go to the movies. Yeah, I get it.
It's like your buddy's just a big old thing of popcorn. You're like,
yeah.
It's like, go ahead, have a bite.
But one of the more classic descriptions of the corporeal form of the Wendigo comes from Basil Johnston, who's an Ojibwe teacher and scholar from Ontario, Canada, and it's kind of goes. He goes, quote, "The Wendigo was gaunt to the point of emaciation, its desiccated skin pulled tautly over its bones, with bones pushing out against its skin."
I don't want to distract too much, but like this is a common theme: the emaciation. This, you know, it's slender, it's tiny, and it's like for something that's on a high protein diet, I'm confused. You think it would be a little bit more fucking rocked up? It's only taking in fucking right, like
it's got super high metabolism that doesn't eat enough. That's what's going on.
Yeah, it's the insatiable thirst. Zell knows.
I've also
close cousin, actually.
Dan,
yeah,
I don't know if you've heard this too, but like as it consumes more people, it gets bigger. Right, like they grow and they get a little bit more fucking imposing as they consume more flesh.
Usually I think the height is usually most of the stories kind of have it like, is it a giant in size? Maybe anywhere between like 10 and 14 feet tall is usually kind of the average height for a Wendigo when you do see it.
Sometimes they also are described with some type of like sometimes antlers, like big, like almost like elk, like big fucking antlers.
From what I read, that's actually like a more recent development.
More
like that's a more
modern
recent
take.
addition. Yeah, it's a more recent addition to the Wendigo.
It's scary.
It's
that's the one
scary.
thing we didn't. The one thing we didn't sugarcoat is his appearance. We made the appearance scarier. Its actions less scarier.
Yeah.
So, it's the other descriptions of it have one of the other kind of grisly descriptions is that it has this, its appearance is like its lips, like often its lips are tattered and bloody because it keeps like gnawing on its lips because of its insatiable hunger for human flesh. And so if it can't find it, it's just like chewing off its lips, essentially.
No, that's just every single Canadian gets it in the winter. It's just so goddamn dry, right? Your lips crack like you wouldn't believe, right? And then you're sucking...
Usually it's constantly surrounded by this miasma of the eerie odor of decay and decomposition,
What's
death
a miasma?
and corruption.
You got
it's like an elaborate fog, like a
pig pen.
So it's like an aura, like an aura kind of, kind
or
of
dumb it down a little
stank.
More. Pig pen, like pig pen.
Yeah, aura of stank.
Yeah, okay. A stanky cloud,
like a mist-ish kind of thing. Yeah,
all right. Yeah. I got you now.
Yeah.
What was the smart word you used?
Miasma.
Miasma. Okay, I'm going to remember that. I'm going to say that to someone, and then act so offended when they don't know what it is.
So the Wendigo, besides its terrifying appearance, it does have a number of supernatural abilities and traits that are attributed to it. The Wendigo does not necessarily it doesn't like hunt. It doesn't like actively kind of chase people down. It says that usually people say that, or legends say that it doesn't pursue its prey. It uses a little bit more of a clever method where it has the ability to mimic human voices. And it will use this ability in order to lure people and draw them away from their settlements or whatever, like out to where they would be, where they would be vulnerable to attack.
Supposedly, it can actually it can completely imitate its last prey, like appearance wise as well.
Absorbs like the life force and everything.
The aura, essence.
Oh, buddy, that makes me think back to those poor kids in that went up the mountain in California.
Yeah, the
Yuba County 5.
Yuba County,
and they got spotted with that pregnant woman, and then was like, "What? Who's that pregnant woman?" I'm like, "Who was that pregnant woman?"
Did she have antlers?
Wendigo.
Right? Yeah, like I don't know if we probably made that connection, but I mean, it's such a freaky thought to be in the woods and then just be like, if like to paint a picture here, if you were camping and you're like with your friends and then you're like, you hear like a hey, guaranteed everyone just stops. Buttholes pucker. I was like, you don't know who's there.
I could see like if the Wendigo's close, the forest goes like drop silent.
Oh, 100%.
Like all the birds stop chirping, or the night
crickets gone.
If at nighttime, like the owls stop, the crickets stop. It just kind of like, whoo, and then just a little whisper.
Well, it's because the fucking miasma's scaring them all away.
But you know what? To be honest, though, from what I read, it doesn't actually just come out at night. It's all the time. So it's just like it's a crazy thought to be like, you'd be like, oh, I'm going for a hike, and then you just hear something, you're like, hey, help me, and you're like, oh, who's that? Should I go help? No, you shouldn't.
Moral of the story: don't help anybody.
Don't help anyone.
Don't help
unless
anybody.
if the Wendigo ever learns to yell fire instead of help, we're all in trouble.
We're fucked.
Now,
Right?
we always talk about missing 411, Bigfoot. Could it all be Bigfoot? You could attribute a few to the Wendigo.
Well, I was thinking about that too. It was one of the kind of the avenues of thought I went down. The thing though with Wendigo is it seems that it's not like it takes someone. It's not like it causes someone. It seems like it seems like it's a possession, right? Like it wants to take over the person for the most part and like make that person do awful things.
While probably eating them.
Yeah. So it's almost like it's controls you like a marionette, like it's always around.
I think the spirit or whatever possesses the person, right? And
After
then they
the-
become the Wendigo.
And then and then it can
Yeah.
transform
And then
back into what it was.
yeah.
And creepy boys.
The Wendigo, like most of it seems to be like centralized around like the Northwest, like around the Great Lakes region, around like that southern part of that part of Canada as well. Like there's actually like a Wendigo lake. Apparently, that's
don't go
just just like I don't know why you would name it Wendigo Lake, because I mean that's just where horror movies start. Like
That's where it's a layer. That's where a known layer is.
Yeah.
You stay away from there. That's probably where that fucking hellhole is that someone remember in Cosmic Channels that guy kept calling about the fucking hell pit.
Or the spook hole.
Yeah,
Spook hole. That's probably the same spot.
Probably crawled out of the spook hole.
Yeah.
So you have this Wendigo Lake, and apparently there's a legend that comes out from that area as well about the death of a Wendigo, where they managed like a tribe of Native Americans managed to capture it and then burn it. Like they capture it in like a hole, and then they set it on fire with a bunch of brush and stuff that they throw down in there, and they eventually kill it. But the thing is, when they burn it, the ashes from the creature actually turn into mosquitoes, therefore perpetuating its flesh eating, like to consume the flesh. It just keeps consuming the flesh as mosquitoes.
That's why mosquitoes really have no point in the animal kingdom.
They're just dead. They're just dead
sense.
Wendigos.
There's dead and they suck the blood from. They're really not doing anything except spreading disease and being little shitty fucking insects.
Yeah.
And being a
Pains in
food
the
source
ass.
for bats. And
Yeah, but
trying their best to
the bats would evolve the other insects. So you don't need the mosquitoes.
No, we don't. Get rid of them.
Get rid of them.
That's an interesting thought, because my brain went to the Wendigo can speak mosquito, and just like it's tempting us, it tempted the mosquitoes. Right? And they fell. They weren't as strong as we were, right?
And that's why the mosquitoes in this area are the size of your palm.
Yeah.
special Wendigo
Special
mosquitoes.
supercharged mosquitoes. Three bites and you faint from blood loss. That's what happens.
Yeah, and there's a number of legends. Like sometimes the Wendigo is featured as more like it's like a transformation, like Andrew was saying before, that it's something that they ask for. Like a person asks for the strength, or they ask for something to help their tribe fight off like a rival or something like that, or enemy warriors from a different tribe, and that they will often like call for that power in order to fend them off. And then, something happens where it's like, like that. So
maybe shouldn't have.
The price is too much, or what it is. But the main thing that a lot of the legends of the Wendigo are about, like, they're kind of considered cautionary tales. They're always meant to kind of display or kind of like be able to be related about the excess of greed, like excesses and like what you can go to. And sometimes the Wendigo is a person who is like wholly affected by just greed. Like they just they're eating too much food and stuff like that. So then they start eating people. Like it's just kind of something that it's the purest expression of just avarice. And then you become this creature that you can't be satisfied by anything. You just keep on going and feeding and wanting more is one of the things that you always find out about these creatures.
It seems like it's like once it gets its foot in the door with the temptation of it, and then it's like, you can't. So it's like King Midas kind of thing. Like, we'll give you the power, but then you can't stop. Like that's the downside of it.
You're never satiated.
Yeah.
So your next thing is humans. Like, I don't know. Yeah. Get the thing a fucking Snickers bar. Like, let's go.
And usually in most of the stories,
you're not yourself.
That'd be a great Snickers commercial,
right? That's what
this guy they're like fucking deep in the woods camping, and one guy's like gnawing on another person. He's like, "Whoa, buddy." Looks like the Wendigo's got a hold of you. Here, have a Snickers. And then the Wendigo's like, withers away. It's great.
Yeah, so
copyright.
Speaking to that point, there's no. Some of the stories include like there's not really any like cure for a Wendigo. Like if it does it does possess your body. I mean, the only things are mostly like the usual kind of exorcisms and stuff like that. There are like you have to consult with the shaman and all of that, and they have to perform a certain rituals and ceremonies in order to exorcise the Wendigo.
I mean, it does seem like most people just lean into it.
When it's in its spirit form, like I think it can be exercised. When it's like an actual in the stories where it's represented as an actual physical creature, often it's like you have to. One of the legends includes like inside each Wendigo, like the physical manifestation of the Wendigo is like a regular person, like a regular man is inside. Therefore, when you want to slay the Wendigo, you have to stab the man in the heart, like you have to stab him through the creature into the man inside.
Then you got to remove his icy heart and burn it in fire.
I heard it as an old analogy.
And then eat it and then perpetuate the Wendigo cycle.
Inside each of us is two Wendigos, one good, one evil. Right?
What comes out is up to you.
So a yin and a yang,
live your life.
Wendigo.
Yeah, it's like
yin dingo and wang dingo.
Yeah. So it's, you just choose which one you want to be, the good Wendigo or the bad one. I think that's how it goes.
Yeah. That's probably true. That's the saying. I've heard that one.
Yeah.
Many times.
It rings familiar in my ears when I say it aloud.
It's fucking ancient Canadian fucking lore, buddy.
Yeah.
We all know. We all grew up on those.
It's a Canadian heritage moment, actually.
Yeah.
It's on the commercial.
That's up there with the fucking house hippo.
Yeah. Remember, Canadians, inside each of you is two Wendigos. One pure, one evil. That's why we're always saying a sorry in there. Say everyone's so nice. Because we know we have the capacity for unbelievable evil. Inside the hearts of every Canadian.
Yeah. Every Canadian is on the edge of cannibalism, like 24/7. Like they're just like a hair's breadth away from just sinking their teeth into some human flesh at any point. So everybody thinks Canadians are super nice. Nah, dude.
Just one mosquito bite away.
They will eat you in a heartbeat.
You haven't seen us when we're hungry.
Like cats. Yeah. Cats got the chance, they'd eat you.
They would. They do. They eat you in 10 minutes.
Do. Yeah, it's awful.
We've heard a couple stories. Cats full of fucking savage beasts.
Nose and earlobes.
Gone.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Cats are Wendigos. So can't convince me otherwise. Now there are certain cases that have historically that have been associated closely with the Wendigo. Like the Wendigo is invoked, and in some of these cases where somebody has committed some unspeakable atrocity, and usually it involves, people from Native American indigenous tribes and things like that, where something has happened. And sometimes it comes out as the Wendigo did this. And there are times where there are disappearances, mysterious disappearances that have happened. And nobody can, for sure. I think there's a story of like a certain couple that from one indigenous tribe in one of the Great Lakes areas that like kind of went missing, and nobody could tell that they eloped. They didn't think they had left to get married or anything like that. But it's actually, people were like, no, they disappeared because the Wendigo took them. They went out into the woods at night and didn't come back.
Trying to answer a call for help.
So it's not like that. But one of the more well-known cases is the case of Swift Runner. Swift Runner, also known as Kaki Kichin, was a member of the Plains Cree tribe in the Canadian province of Alberta. Now, from all reports, like he was well known among the tribe. He was popular. People liked him. He was nice. And he was also like he also cooperated often with the Northwest Mounted Police, which he would usually act as like a guide or a tracker on multiple occasions.
Swiftest one they had.
Yeah. So he was married. He was married and had 6 children, apparently, and so like everything was just like this guy was just all around pretty good guy, pretty solid dude. Like he's also huge. Like he was also like a very like intimidating, large.
He was well over
man.
200 pounds, and at that time, 200 pounds is.
Have you ever seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest? Same guy.
I haven't seen that in so long.
Same guy from Predator.
Yeah.
Now, Swift Runner may have fallen on hard times because shortly before the winter of 1878 to 1879, it seems that he kind of fell into like a deep depression, and he became like, I guess he dealt with that and he turned to alcohol. So he became an alcoholic, and he often had violent binges that actually ended up getting him fired from the Northwest Mounted Police and expelled from his tribe. And so as a result of this, he had to take his family alongside his mother-in-law, and he took his brother-in-law as well.
Oh my God. That's brutal. Could you imagine fucking up so bad that you get banned from a tribe that you have to take your mother-in-law? No. Oh,
what did she do? That was just more
she would
punishment?
have been nonstop being like, yeah, you do something so bad that even your in-law gets banished. And that's coming. You never hear the end of it.
And your mother-in-law.
My
your
God.
in-laws have to go with you. So they ended up moving into a remote camp, like out into the far, bit of the deep wilderness, as it were, for the winter. So things, were going pretty bad. Like this is late 1800s. So going out into the wilderness this isn't a vacation. This isn't like summer. This isn't a winter cabin. Nicely appointed with your wood fireplace, nicely insulated.
A Canadian winter in any kind of like
in northern Alberta,
anywhere east of the Rocky Mountains, forget about it.
No, brutal.
Now something happened out there. But nobody really knew what, until Swift Runner actually returned to civilization after the winter, like months later. But he only returned alone by himself.
Solo.
He kind
of pretty much like walked in and to like the Catholic mission there, and he talked with the priests that, and telling them, they were asking questions because he was still a well-known personage around that area. And they were kind of like, last time we heard about you, you were out there with your family. Like where are they?
How is everyone?
Yeah. How is your family? And what he told them that his family had starved to death, all of them. Like they had starved to death out there. And during that whole harsh winter, they had just all succumbed to starvation one by one. And the Catholic priests were kind of ready, because that does happen. They're like, it's probably not something out of the ordinary that did happen. But the one thing that kind of made them suspicious of this explanation is that
Swift-Runner was huge, jacked.
Yeah, he was still over 200 pounds. This in perfectly good health, according to them.
And well fed.
And so they're like, wow, how are you still looking this good when you're not all bones? You don't look like a person who's been starving all winter. Exactly. So he had some other in-laws, besides the brother-in-law and the mother-in-law that were worried about the rest of the family. Like people were a little bit suspicious, as you would be.
Perfectly reasonable to be suspicious at this point.
That's something that happened. Or even if he's like, well, if they starve to death, we still want like their bodies, like, we'd give them a proper burial or something like that, I would assume is some of their reasoning for this. So they decided to rope in the Northwest Mounted Police, who at this time, they'd only been in the West for about 5 years. Yeah. It's like, it's like one of those 10-star sheriffs. I think that's like you're the police now. Like just
rolling it down.
This is in Canada. This is still Wild West times. Like there's not a lot of civilization yet right now.
Yeah,
it's the Wild North.
Wild North.
So they had one Inspector Sévère Gagnon, who was actually given the task for investigating the Swift-Runner story. Now, he explained, like he cooperated with them, and he told them that that there was a small grave near the camp where he had buried one of his boys after he had died, and so Gagnon and his detachment, like they dug up the grave. They were like, okay, and they found the bones in there of a small child, and that seemed to line up with Swift-Runner's story. But when they went to go check out for the rest of the camp, what they saw there definitely didn't follow the story.
Not everything followed the story as far as what was in the camp. But just before we get to that, we're going to take a short beer break. We're going to be
trying to muster up the fucking strength. We got
to reset.
Yeah.
We got to reset.
Yeah.
That's the sound of your current hype level at the gas pump. But brace yourself for something fuel-nominal, because Unleaded 88 is about to take the hype to a whole new level. Unleaded 88 is cheaper, cleaner, and greener than regular unleaded. Plus, it's homegrown, making Unleaded 88 the clear choice at the pump and totally worth the hype. So pump it up with Unleaded 88, brought to you by Iowa Corn.
We're back.
So now, where we left off is where the Northern Mounted Police were, escorting Swift-Runner to the camp where he had been residing over winter with his family, who he had said had starved to death. He had shown him the grave of one of his younger children that he said that had died. But when they went to entered into the camp proper, what met them was something that was. It's very difficult probably to describe if you've seen it. Now, the entire camp seemed to be just littered with bones where it was. And the majority of these bones were not animal bones. Like from what they could tell.
Suspiciously human.
When these
what gave it away? The human skull.
Yeah, when the officers like they looked at these things, like they could tell like these were not animal bones. These were human bones. Many of which had been just cleaned and clear of flesh. Like all of it was gone. Some of them had like been cracked open. The marrow was sucked out. They could tell from these bones that were left there. And so if that wasn't enough, like they said that they actually like inside the camp, they found an actual pot full of human fat.
Yeah.
That was like sitting next to
boiling. Had been
he was just
boiled.
holding for a friend.
Yeah. And from there, I mean, it was pretty easy to tell. Like
the prosecutor's wet dream.
They came to the pretty quick conclusion that Swift Runner had killed his entire family and ate them.
Well, he at least ate them.
Cannibalized them.
Like not going to get into gory details, but I remember like they were like mentioning like, oh, that's like a human skull, and he's like, which this one, and like scooped it up by the eye holes, and like holding the skull in his hand, like guy had zero regard.
Yeah, zero remorse either.
He'd been infected with the Wendigo curse.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So when they confronted him with this information and the conclusions that they were drawing, like they're like, there's only one thing that we can think about from this scene, like from the evidence that's here, like you killed and you ate your family. Apparently, like he kind of just confessed to it, and he wasn't like, from what we could tell, it wasn't like a blubbering like breakdown. It was just kind of him explaining to them that apparently he tried to explain that he had initially only meant to eat
just
his
one
eldest son that he had slaughtered in order to feed the rest of the family. But once he committed that first act, he said that a Wendigo spirit had descended upon him.
Right. He made the choice of what was easy, to kill one of his family members to eat. Right.
And then
that's when it kept going.
But he did say like he had that spirit in his head the entire time, talking to him, telling him to do it.
Yeah.
And so some further background about this, which I thought was interesting, just sort of historical perspective, is that you have this case is interesting, not only that, from the Grizzly perspective and that whole thing that happened, but it's actually the police, since they'd only been out there for about 5 years, they'd never actually conducted an execution. Like they'd never tried somebody and been like, we're going to execute you for murder.
This was the first. This is the first execution in Northwest Territories history, which at the time this was considered the Northwest Territories, which we now know as Alberta. But yeah, it was
fucking wild.
So they had to build an entire gallows in the fort enclosure of Fort Saskatchewan, and then they had like an old army pensioner named Rogers, and they made him hangman. Like they didn't have an actual execution or any of that, so they just kind of brought him out there. And so on December 20th, Swift Runner was after he had been arraigned, and pretty much they were like, "This is case closed." Like you said
it.
Well, so the night before that he was to be hung or hanged, they offered him, they're like, would you like to spend the night with a priest? And he replied, the white man has ruined me. I don't think their God could amount to much. And then as they walked him out to the gallows, he looked at them and said, I could kill myself with a tomahawk and save the hangman further trouble.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And just this, like Dan said, like apparently that's not
dead straight.
This guy was dead straight, showing no emotion whatsoever.
Yeah. It is that's one of the stranger cases. Of course, that's the one that's probably most people mention when they talk about the Wendigo, because it's one of those. It reminds me a lot of like the Amityville one. Well, it also reminds me of the Amityville case, where it's like the devil made me do it. Like is what you go to, but it's not necessarily like for that one. That was like an actual defense that they tried to do. Like the devil made me do it. This one is like he's like, nah, I know I did it, and like it's the Wendigo, at least the first one, like even then it's like you still would have been tried for murder. You killed your son. And then it's like you killed him. And then the rest was Wendigo, which is, just damning in itself. You're just, but apparently that's not the only case that the Wendigo factors into.
Yeah. So we're going to kind of talk about the other end. We're going to get into a little bit of possibly the Van Helsing of Wendigo lore. Jack Fiddler, he was a famous shaman for his alleged ability to conjure animals and protect his people from spells. Most importantly, to the people of the region, he could allegedly successfully defeat the Wendigo. In his life, Jack Fiddler claimed to have defeated 14 Wendigos. Apparently, some were sent against his people by enemy shamans, and others were members of his own band who were taken with an insatiable, incurable desire to consume human flesh. In the latter case, Fiddler would usually ask by family members to kill a very sick loved one right before they turned to a Wendigo. In some cases, the Wendigo himself would come to Fiddler and asked to be euthanized. So basically, this guy has got a kill count of 14 Wendigos.
Wow.
Right? Which I would think is fucking super impressive.
That's a world record right there.
So the HPC, as we all know here, the Hudson Bay Company, right?
Yeah.
Traders, Cree, and missionaries were all well aware of the Wendigo legend, though they were often explained it as a mental illness or superstitions. Regardless, several incidents of people being turned into Wendigos and eating human flesh were documented. Jack Fiddler's reputation also grew amongst these groups, and he was approached multiple times by Cree ministers at Island Lake and asked to bring Christianity to his people. Though he respectfully heard their request, Fiddler did not convert. So he's already sounds like he's kind of getting a poor rub by these guys because he's not taking Christianity. Because what happens
if you convert to Christianity, you lose all your Wendigo killing powers. That's
what I'm saying. So why are we trying to force him into this? Like, I don't know. One of Jesus's miracles was not killing 14
Jesus
Wendigos.
Didn't kill it. Yeah, Jesus didn't kill 14 Wendigos.
I don't think so. So
I don't see the apostles killing Wendigos.
He was turning water to wine. He his power's useless in the Pacific Northwest. There is no God here.
So in early 1907, two members of the Northwest Mounted Police heard of Jack Fiddler's powers against the Wendigo from one of Fiddler's in-laws. Seeking to introduce Canadian law in the North, the Mounties went and arrested Jack Fiddler for murder. The Mounties were so the interesting too is the Mounties were the first white people that these tribes had ever seen. And then they just show up like fucking Dudley Do-Right and start fucking lynching guys.
Hey, good day, hey. Excuse me, you're under arrest.
Yeah. On September 30th, Jack Fiddler escaped captivity during a walk outside and then proceeded to hang himself later that day.
He escaped during a walk outside? Sounds like he was already escaped.
His honor
he's like, hey, can I go for a
day pass?
He invented the jailbreak. It wasn't even a fathom before. He's like, hey, can I go for a walk? They're like, yeah, sure, hey.
Hey, you gonna come back? You gonna come back? Hey, I don't think he's gonna come back. He's just booking it over like a hill. He's like, well, no.
Was he planning to come back?
Oh no, he looks like he's gonna turn. No, he's gonna keep going. Oh, okay. We better get the horses.
But yeah, that's the story of Jack Fiddler. That was pretty badass.
Jack Fiddler, Wendigo hunter.
Supposedly he did get some justice in the past though. So he was sentenced to whatever life and he was going to be hung. And then after they went through his case and he was exonerated because he had several people, including members of the policing community and stuff that came forward being like, no, this guy helped sick people and they wanted to be euthanized. He helped them. And
he gave them.
They're like, that's murder, eh? That's what we call that.
Listen, but this is very Canadian because this is just the MAID program, which we are now introducing back in fucking the 1900s.
Yeah, he was doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Forefather of it.
He's like, all right, I'll get my tools.
Yeah. Which was what back then? Fucking big rock.
He would just mix it up, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to try something new on you.
So these particular cases and stuff like that Jack Fiddler probably had been dealing with or participated in. There is such a thing as Wendigo syndrome, which addresses this this specific type of what they classify as a type of psychosis or psychological condition when set in this specific cultural context of the North Lake. The Great Lakes regions and those areas. And so it's primarily associated with the indigenous peoples who live in those areas, particularly the Algonquin tribes. Now, Wendigo psychosis is usually characterized by several psychological and behavioral symptoms, which the combinations can vary from among different individuals, but these are some of the common ones to look for. So these are some of the things look out for. So an intense and compulsive desire to consume human flesh, even in the absence of food scarcity. So, if your buddy's telling them that I feel like just having a little bit of nibble on this
quick bite.
You ever thought what it tastes like?
It's like, why don't we just order a pizza? No, you know what? That's not going to hit the spot.
I want some fava beans and a fine Chianti.
Delusions or hallucinations of turning into a Wendigo or being pursued by one. It can often happen. You have a distorted body image. So individuals can usually perceive themselves as being emaciated or transforming into some type of like skeletal figure. There's the increased aggression and paranoia, social withdrawal and isolation, insomnia and sleep disturbances. And then usually there's a loss of touch or some type of loss of touch with reality, like distancing yourself from that.
So I think that we've a pretty popular Canadian case was actually, it should actually be attributed to the Wendigo. And as I'm going to bring it up, and you guys are going to be like, wait a sec, that kind of makes a little bit of sense. So on the 30th July 2008, Tim McLean, a 22-year-old Canadian man, was stabbed, beheaded, and cannibalized while riding a Greyhound bus along the Trans-Canada Highway.
Was cannibalized? I don't remember that.
Yeah.
The killer was 40-year-old Chinese-Canadian Vincent Lee. Witnesses say the attacker seemed oblivious to the others when the stabbing occurred, added he was struck by Lee's calm demeanor. There was no rage or anything. He was like a robot stabbing that guy. When he appeared in I don't know what the fuck that means. But anyways, literally like the accounts of this guy. So he murders him in his sleep in front of everybody, completely monotone.
On a moving bus.
Robotic, whatever.
Yeah.
Everybody gets the fuck off the bus.
And they just hold the door. They're like, holy fuck.
They hold the door closed and Lee proceeds to walk to the doors and try to open them while holding McLean's severed head in his hand. Like awful. I don't want to go too much into detail, right? But he's completely like no remorse, no nothing for this, right?
Complete psychotic.
Totally. And like the killer for me is the fact that this guy, he was back on the street in 5 years.
Yeah.
After this.
Totally fine.
5 years.
No
Did
testing.
he eat him?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Sorry.
He ate him on
Yeah,
the
I was
bus.
like, where's the eating part?
He was, he was like this. He was
Yeah. No, like 100. Yeah. That was.
They eat flesh or you drink the blood?
eating
He ate
flesh.
the
He was
flesh.
chewing on the head and stuff.
Just like chewing on the.
Yeah. And he was cutting strips off the guy and eating him. Sorry.
Yeah.
But
We
yeah.
said we were going to get the dude, but you asked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I just
He ate
we said
8
that he was
parts.
cannibalizing.
This is a real story. This did happen. You
Yeah,
can look
it's
up all the details.
This is absolutely 100% real. And it like everything, every symptom that Dan said,
This guy
literally,
kinda
other
had.
than, yeah, like it's,
And in 5 years,
and
like
he's
he went to
traveling
his-
in the right area.
Yeah. Yeah. He definitely was. And it's like in 5 years, he's totally fine. He's out, new name, and no further issues.
Canada.
Right.
That's Canada.
That's
for you.
Canadian
That's fucking
justice.
Dudley Do-Right. Letting
Yeah.
Buddy go out for a walk. Like,
there you
fucking
go.
cool. Awful.
Now, another one, Andrew actually sent me this. I'll preface this with, he didn't feel comfortable reading it and he wanted a superior reader to read it aloud.
I'll fucking read it right now. Fuck you. Give it to me. You gonna talk that?
So he said that, and then he sent it
No,
to me.
I'm just
to read.
lazy.
Yeah.
He said Dan should read it.
No, I thought he said me.
that did not say.
Yeah. So this
We
one
all
is,
know Braden is the strongest reader.
yeah, this one is,
Proven.
The guy's at the grade 8 level. It's good.
well, if you think about it, in the last 7 years, because I've been practicing so much reading, I've actually gotten much better from
Oh,
when
you're
we
good.
started.
Dude, when we did
Yeah.
those ad reads the other day, you fucking nailed it like
I'm
first
back.
try.
I'm back up to a grade
You
11
started,
reading level.
when we started the show, you were better. Then you took a dip for about 4 years and then you've climbed back out of the hole.
yeah.
I think it's because all the cosmetic adjustments he made, like to the nose and teeth and stuff like that. Like I think
Really
it threw
fixed
him
his
off and he
appearance.
had to fucking
Yeah.
get used to his new
That
handsomeness.
checks
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this, I hesitate to call this sighting, a hearing, I guess.
A hearing. Yeah.
A hearing. Group of hunters in the middle of the northwestern Ontario, middle of the bush, 50 kilometers from the closest town. Gino Mikis is hunting grouse with his wife and grandson when they hear a series of eerie noises in the distance. And I quote, When it let out the first scream, I thought it was a moose, but my mind changed when it screamed again and again. He goes, I've heard many different animals in the wild, but nothing like this. I grew up hunting with my grandfather for the first 12 years of my life. The howls initially came from the distance, but they soon appeared to move much closer, said Mikas. We could hear it moving. It kind of sounded heavy. But my wife, she got scared. We picked up our grandson and we started to head toward the vehicle. That's when Mikas pulls out his phone and he goes, listen, I got to get some of this shit. This is wild. And he records what is that. And some people speculate could potentially be a Wendigo. So hold on one second.
A Wendigo.
I literally on the break went upstairs to go to the bathroom and referred to Jess asked what we're talking about. Oh, we're talking about the Wendigo. Fuck.
Yeah. And if there's anything that I've given to the world in this case file, it's that whenever you listen to this, you will now refer to it as the Wendigo from here on out. It's hard not to say it now.
It's a half dog hybrid version of Wendigo.
New cryptid.
Yeah.
Let's listen to this here. Let me know if it's loud enough. Oh, hold on. Do I have it set so you can hear it?
I don't know.
Can you guys hear this?
No. Yeah.
Well, there it goes. I heard the one howl. I said it.
There's a bunch.
Oh yeah, no, I don't like that.
Yeah, no.
I don't like that. I don't like that. No. No. Goodbye.
That's fucking horrifying.
No.
What the fuck is that?
Dude,
Oh
I
my
hear that in the
goodness.
middle of the woods. I'm fucking booking it. I'm done with that shit.
Wildlife experts, everybody have listened to this and they're like, we can't identify what that is.
I feel like, shut up.
Slap that grandkid right now. This isn't funny.
Put him in a just straight up headlock with my arm around his mouth.
Well, you hear somebody's yelping, so maybe, one of the family members is getting the fucking itch. Took a bite of somebody's forearm.
Yeah, right.
Fucking,
there it is again. It's going nonstop.
God. I not like that. Yeah, I know I saw some of the things, some wildlife experts it might be a grizzly bear. Or
It's not a grizzly.
It's not a grizzly bear or
almost sounds like it could be a really big wolf. Maybe stuck in a trap or something. It's in pain.
I've heard wolves. I've heard them. I heard them. Yeah. That's not what they sound like. I've never heard anything like that.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just coming up with things that make me feel better.
I was just saying what I've heard.
Okay.
I was just yeah, I'd be no.
That's nonstop, relentless.
That's a weird one.
Wolf, though. That kind of sounds like a wolf.
The start was more eerie than the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's from northwestern Ontario. I've never heard anything like that in the woods. I've heard wolves howling over. Is that still playing? Why is it still playing? Oh, give me the heebie-jeebies.
Now you got the Wendigo spirit in your house.
I've heard coyotes, going after kale. I've heard moose, deer, bear. I've never heard that.
No.
That's not a fun. That's just I wouldn't want to hear that. Especially, it's so loud. It could be pretty far
booming.
away, but it's
fucking booming.
It resonates, and I would not be happy hearing that.
And that's the thing with hearing that loud, and it's out in the woods like that, because you don't exactly. You're like, is that really far, or is it closer?
Yeah.
Than I think.
That's what I'm saying. Is it carrying? And it's or is it closer? I'd be is it just right over in that copse of woods over there? It's right across the way there, or is it way farther out? I'd fucking leave. I'd be like, we're going home. We're done. Pack it in.
It's absolutely terrifying.
You're almost obligated at that point to venture out into the woods with cameras recording and try and find proof.
With your grandkid.
With your grandkid. Use them as bait.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the Wendigo's going to get him first.
That's what I mean. Use them as bait. Then
You're
run.
going to have a getaway. Yeah.
It's not your fault. You're not going to survive. You're not both going to survive anyway.
I mean, it's not your kid. It's your kid's kid. So it's
It's either him.
Is there a lot of attachment?
It's either him or both of you. So like, I mean, one, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, listen, if we're being honest, you're probably tripping your wife.
Yeah.
Was she there though?
Yeah.
Was she
Yeah,
there?
he said
Oh,
she
okay.
walked across the screen in the first place.
Yeah. Grandma ain't making it back.
Yeah.
Gone.
Got to keep the bloodline alive.
Terrifying.
Yeah, that is a fucking weird one.
Yeah, I'm not into it.
A lot of weird shit in the woods.
I'll be honest with you. Got into this, got into the lore, everything like that. Definitely would not have suggested this if I would have known about Swift Runner.
Yeah, it's if you're one of those people that are really interested in the gruesome and gory details, look it up because it is fucking.
No,
I'm sure there's
It's
tons
bad.
of true crime podcasts on.
No, but there's like whatever I don't know where it came from because I didn't want to get any further. But like the detail of it, like he goes into exact detail on how he did everything and everything, and it is like
Brutal.
yeah. It made my fast today that much easier.
It was definitely shocking and disturbing. So if that's your thing, hashtag look it up.
Yeah, fill your boots.
Because it's definitely like one of the more savage cryptids that we talk about. Like, I don't think anything, in my opinion, like even poltergeist and all that kind of stuff, like they all have a kind of a fun, like, look at that, tip that over. This is like legitimately fucking terrifying through and through, like everything about it.
It's
like
the most evil cryptid we've talked about.
Yeah,
this might be the most evil thing we've talked about.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. Terrifying. This is if you were like, which is the one you don't want to run into. This is it.
I mean,
100%.
Pretty much anything that has to do with cannibalism is gonna be pretty bad.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Especially this creature. It's the way that it's what the things and acts that it's associated with are all just like real bad.
Well, especially if it takes, like, let's just say it like once it convinces you to do a terrible deed and then it grasps you, then if you're just like a vessel for it to do these terrible acts and you're just present, like as some, like you can't control this thing is now like puppet mastering you and you're just watching just in horror as you commit atrocities.
Like you're conscious but not in control inside.
Yeah, and you're just like, I can't control it.
And the worst thing is it doesn't kill you after.
No, it just leaves you. It goes that. Explain that, bitch.
Yeah.
Good luck.
That's fucking terrifying. Definitely would not want 1010 would not recommend.
Stay away. Stay away from human flesh. Stay away from that little voice in your head to do it.
Now,
Stay away from Alberta.
Stay away from anywhere east of the Rocky Mountains.
Yeah.
Now, hypothetical, if you were in a plane crash, does knowing about the Wendigo stories stop you or even make you hesitate for a second?
I'd eat you in a second.
Carving off,
if I had to.
Carving off a frozen chunk of
I don't think
ass
I
meat.
have the. I don't think so. I'd be the first to die. I'd be getting eaten for sure.
I'd have no problem eating you to survive. It's zero problem.
Yeah, I don't.
See?
Any
So
of
it
you.
begins.
I can't do it.
So it begins. The Wendigo has already got his fingers in Zell. I think so. I think push come to shove if it's like survival's on the line. I would definitely.
Am I going to try and
it's
kill
not
you
like-
to eat you? No, but if you die,
If you die,
If you die of say an accident, that
a potential accident may happen.
I couldn't. Fuck, I tried a mussel the other day. I couldn't do it.
Dude, anything flame grilled is
Slimy
fine.
and just I have to like
it's-
spit it out.
Flame
Like,
grilled
no,
is good.
I can't do
Just
it.
fucking char it up.
it's. Yeah, I think if push came to shove, I feel like I would exhaust. Like we would have to be like getting down to like hey, I think we got to do this now. There's no food because I'm pretty crafty. I feel like I could, if I was in the woods like old hatchet style, I feel like I could,
Yeah, but like we're talking these
Brian
areas. There is no food.
yeah,
There's nothing.
yeah, especially in the
there's
winter. Fuck, you're fucked.
There's
So,
nothing
I
in
don't
it
know.
except
I
for
just
flesh.
don't have it. It's so vivid in my head because I watched that fucking show Yellow Jackets. And
Yeah, I
once
just
it
started
got to
watching
that. But I fucking I was like, I think we're done with this. I don't have the fucking. It's too much for me.
Dan, push come to shove, you could eat. What do you think? You're stuck in the
mean-
Canadian winter.
meat is meat.
Yeah.
Dan knows. Yeah.
3-1. 3 Wendigos to 1.
If you guys survive, you
To
guys
one
you
so we know who's getting eaten.
Yep. It really depends who dies first, though.
Would that be the pact? Is that the pact? If we're flying anywhere for a pod trip, we all die. It's we all try to hold out, and then the first one to die, the other 3 can eat.
For sure.
Is that the pact?
Say that now.
Well, it's definitely like I am not dying first. There's no way.
What if you die of injuries?
Well, okay.
But if we're in a plane
can't let
crash,
it go
someone's
bad.
dead.
If we
can't let it go bad. We better eat
You're
it
already
now.
dead. You gotta, survive. We gotta survive.
if we're you guys are feasting, you all leave fucking plumper than you.
It's like we got plenty of rations and stuff over here. We found the tail of the plane. Now let's eat Braden first. Like let's just get it out of the way.
Might as well carve him up.
It's fucking keto. I got high protein.
It's
That's it.
if no, like hypothetical, if the plane went down and we were all unscathed, right? I would say I would last the longest per starvation. Like I think I got the most to lose, so I think I would last the longest.
Because you're saying you have the most
Not sure
reserves.
that's how it works.
You got the
I
reserves.
got the most reserves. Yeah,
I'm not sure that works.
I think that's
I
how
think
it works.
I think
don't know.
you would burn 3 to 1 pounds though, because you got so much. I'd be able to outlast you. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. Who knows?
Well, there's only one way to find out, I guess. We have to all be in a
You're
dire
going to be
situation.
burning more calories to move your fucking frame.
So I mean,
That's what you're going to need.
Yeah,
to
but I
replace
wouldn't.
more.
I would go into instantly like
You go
grizzly
hibernation.
mode. I just like kind of fucking wiggle into the snowbank a little bit and just be like, all right, I'm kicking back. I got at least 4 or 5 days. So I have to do
you
anything.
can, I mean,
Yeah, you got
you got
longer
long
than that.
unless you freeze to death. I mean,
You got
that's
longer
another
than
thing.
Well, at the 5-day mark, I might be like, okay, maybe I should make a shelter or something.
Oh, like you're just not going to move for 5 days. Like
I'm
you're
just not gonna move. No, just gonna fucking cozy into a bank somewhere,
Dirt
a little
shelter.
mossy bank.
You're going to let us do the work. We're going to build a
And then eat
shelter,
us.
and then you're like, oh,
Motherfucker.
good job. And then you'll
Yeah.
come wiggling out, rolling on over.
Wiggling into the shelter.
Nice
you guys
work, guys.
cold? But yeah, it's Wendigo's fucking terrifying. So if you learned anything tonight, it's that it's now called Wendigo.
Wendigo.
I think we're built to survive, though. We got people that know how to build shelters. We got Dan, who could be a MacGyver. We got me, I could do medical stuff. Like we're freaking pretty. We're
I
good
like,
crew.
and
We're gonna be eating other people.
No
Yeah,
knock on you, Andrew. I feel like, and Dan, I haven't camped with you, but I have a feeling in that mode, it would become, you guys would be leaning heavily on me and Zell. This is like, yeah, you guys laugh at me now. I'd be like, oh, you laugh at me in the real world. Not anymore.
Buddy, I listen.
Bend over.
I know how to camp now. I got it sorted. I got a fucking little.
He's got a trailer. He can camp
I
now.
got it sorted.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's got a
Like, I think-
enclosed trailer.
I think for like adult men, I think we do okay. Like, how long do you think if let's say we crash in the summer? Because winter's a fucking wild card. We probably all die anyways from exposure.
dead.
Sure.
Listen, we're all dying in the fucking plane crash.
Number, yeah, most,
So,
at least 3 of us are dying at least 3, if not all.
at
Yeah.
least.
But then say we don't. Say we land in a lake, perfect belly, right? Like down.
We get a Captain Sully, brings us down.
Fucking hatchet.
He dies.
Was it Gary Paulson?
Gary Paulson, yeah, hatchet with Brian.
hatchet.
Brian survives, right?
Yeah.
We got a fucking pocket knife and shit. Like I feel like if we landed in the summer, we might have a chance at surviving.
Oh yeah.
If you land in the winter, I think you're
Anybody's gonna die.
you're in for a real
Unless you
uphill
drop
battle.
with some
Summer will be
severe,
fine.
like some good reserve of supplies, you're toast.
Yeah, but if you're in the summer, I think we could be like, okay, we're in trouble. We need to make a shelter. We need to get this. We got to get fires going. I think we could be okay.
It depends on what supplies there's a lot of variables. What supplies we dropped with? Do we got lighters, or are we fucking like chipping rocks and sparks?
Like two lighters,
Some
and like
basic
a
stuff.
pocket
We got
knife.
basic stuff.
Yeah.
We got a Leatherman,
Yeah, like a couple-
Leatherman and a lighter.
and a couple Bics,
Okay.
right? Because I just think that like I'm like, oh, you know what? I think we could. I think we'd actually quite enjoy ourselves for the first little while till winter. We'd be like, hey, like after about a couple weeks, we'd be like, yeah, this is pretty nice. Get back, we got fish. Like,
Yeah, well, if you can
This is
catch
awesome.
fish, you got a hook. How we can catch a fish? There's a lot of variables here, but I think we'd have fun for about 3 days, and then we'd start killing each other.
yeah. the Wendigo would take over every time someone separates from a group, kill the rest of them.
Yeah, we're getting a little bit of food. Like we're getting like a few hundred calories a day. By day 3, we're all so hangry. Someone's getting killed.
I'm gonna get murdered.
Yeah. Whoops, he fell.
Oh no.
All right. Well, next time on the Theorists Crush-a-thon.
Which theorists?
4 theorists in the woods. There's only room for one survivor. But that's it. I think that's all we got for Wendigo. Anything else on Wendigo before we?
Just a terrifying cryptid, and don't give in to the urge.
Don't eat people.
Yeah.
Don't eat people.
Don't eat people. Don't go into the woods. And if you hear people calling in the woods, it sounds like if you get that,
Let them die.
if you get the hair on your neck stand up, don't go. Listen to your gut.
Trust it. If you're not supporting the show already, you want early access to the case files, ad-free, all our bonus stuff, you got to go to alientheorist.com. You got to hit that support tab. Subscribe.
Listen, you got to support us before we start eating each other. Right? You don't want us to turn into Wendigos.
Have you seen those grocery prices? We're fucking one step from the edge here.
Here especially. There'd be a whole country of fucking Wendigos.
Yeah, no kidding. 37 million of us fucking trying to eat each other here pretty quick. This week's new supporters, we have Tenko, Rhea, Drew Pearson, Dude Man. Fucking dope. Dude Man.
Yeah, that's good, man.
What was that? What was the superhero? He-Man?
He-Man.
This is Dude Man. The next evolution. Catherine Green and Jacob Leahy. I think that actually, is that Mr. Leahy's son? Perhaps. Might be.
Carrying the torch.
Carrying the torch.
And if you want to watch us live, you want to hang out on ATT Live, you can check it out. The next one's June 11th and then June 25th, 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, only on YouTube. And as we always say at the end of these things, keep those high.